Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Lunch. Let's take it straight to our colleague Nigel D'Souza, who's joined in with the management of Hindalco. Over to you, Nigel.
Well, thanks so much for that, Nisha. We have with us Mr. Satish Pai, the MD of Hindalco, who joins us from the sidelines of the Motilal Oswal conference. Pleasure talking to you as always, Mr. Pai. Thanks so much for joining in and speaking to us here on CNBC TV 18. Let's get straight, sir, to pricing. Alumina prices in the last month or so, they're up by nearly around 20%. So what's the sense you get? What's the sustainable level in terms of alumina pricing? And more importantly, can that give some legs to aluminium pricing going ahead?
So the alumina prices have been quite strong because of disruptions in the supply chain. So two things have happened. The Alunorte refinery, which is like a 7 million ton alumina refinery of Norsk Hydro, has got some regulatory problems and is running at less than 50% capacity. And recently there have been some labor troubles in the Australian refinery. So as a result of those two, alumina prices have shot up. So I think that alumina prices, because of these two issues, will probably stay on the higher side for a while. And yes, as a result of that, aluminium prices will also be supported to that extent to the higher level.
Okay, all right. So on an average, in the second half of this year, we have been seeing that even inventories have been, getting lower from the data that we get coming in from China. What kind of a number are we working with in terms of aluminium prices? $2,100 per ton, or do you expect it to scale up towards the $2,300 per ton based on the dynamics in terms of demand as well as supply?
So as you said, first let's look at the fundamentals. The supply and demand tells you that the production in China has been remarkably disciplined. The Q1 of the Indian financial year, the world actually had a 1.5 million ton deficit. So for the first time, China had a 500,000 deficit between production and consumption. So I think that the current prices, which are running anywhere between 2,050 to 2,100, probably have an upper side bias as we head into the winter again, because we are being told that the winter cuts in China will be repeated this year as well. So I think that aluminium prices from the current levels probably have an upward bias towards the second half of this year.
Okay, upward bias the second half of this year. That'll be quite encouraging as well. You have input costs as well that are moving up. So that is broadly likely to support prices going ahead. But Mr. Pai, if you could give us a sense, in terms of alumina capacity, you're adding some capacity at Utkal from around 1.5 million odd. Any further capacity addition plans that you have in India?
So on the alumina side, we are going to finish the brownfield expansion of 500,000 tons. And I think, as we have said, once we finish that, we'll probably be looking to add an additional 1 million ton train in Utkal later on, yes. So we do have plans to expand further.
Okay, another niggling worry is in terms of power availability, Mr. Pai. If you could give us a sense of, are you all receiving the adequate coal via linkages? Is there a bit of a gap? Because there are various complaints that state that maybe, in fact, besides power companies, some steel and aluminium prices companies, they have been struggling for coal availability. Comment on that, sir.
Yes, so the coal tightness happens every monsoon. So this monsoon is no different from last year's monsoon. And that happens because of rains and because railway lines get clogged. So at this stage, it is fair to say that coal deliveries are quite tight. But I also expect that as soon as this monsoon period finishes, we should be getting our requisite amount of coal. So yes, during monsoons it's tight, but I'm not so worried post the monsoon time.
Oh, that's good news then. If you're not so worried, sir, and you expect it to return to normal levels, that'll be quite encouraging as well. But let's talk about the big acquisition, Aleris. Out there, the expectation is, and what you'll have outlined, is you're expecting that EBITDA number to go towards $350 million. It looked like, a tall ask, but as per the last quarter's numbers, it appears that it's on the cards. Comment on that, sir, and also tell us any further appetite in terms of acquisitions coming in from Hindalco. Is that a possibility?
So look, the first thing is, as you said, we made a very strong case that our acquisition of Aleris was fairly priced at about the 7.2 multiple based on that 360 million.
Right.
And as you yourself pointed out, the first quarter earnings of Aleris proved the point that our acquisition was made at that reasonable price at that 7.2 multiple. We think there is a further upside based on synergy, but that can only come after we have closed the acquisition. I think that for the next couple of years on Novelis side, we have already declared quite a good plan of organic growth along with the Aleris acquisition. If you remember, we declared a 200 KT expansion in the US for Autoline, another 100 KT in China. So as a mix of organic and inorganic, we have quite a good plan in Novelis. So if I come back to India now, besides the Utkal expansion, we have also said we're going to be spending roughly 6,000-7,000 crores on doubling our downstream capacity to meet the Indian demand. So in India...
All right, so that's the management of Hindalco with our colleague Nigel D'Souza, and Hindalco stock